The Great Pyramids of Egypt. The sheer size of these monuments is fascinating. The two highest and biggest were built for Pharaoh Khufu and his son Khafre. The Khufu Pyramid, 146 meters tall, and each pyramid contains about 2.5 million blocks. How were they built? Over the past few decades, significant discoveries have been made on the very site where they were erected. But now, far from the Giza Plateau and hundreds of kilometers from the pyramids themselves, we are gaining more insight into just how they were built, how these huge work sites were created, cementing the strength and power of Egypt. Two teams of Egyptologists, one based in the middle of the desert, the other located on the Red Sea coast, are currently discovering more about the Egypt of Khufu's time than at the foot of the pyramids.
An unexpected discovery of the oldest Egyptian papyrus fragments sheds light on the construction of the Giza pyramids. These logbooks, detailed by foreman NewLogs, offer incredible insights into this ancient marvel. Protected in the Cairo Museum, this treasure reveals history. The real game changer was a totally unexpected discovery that any archaeologist who has ever excavated at the foot of the pyramids would have loved to find. Here it is, in this very ordinary hole. In 2013, between these two blocks, Pierre Tally's team found papyrus fragments, thousands of fragments, which proved to be the oldest ever discovered in Egypt. We absolutely did not expect to find this kind of documentation at such a faraway site. At the beginning, we were searching for a pharaonic harbor, since we had already discovered several. Very quickly, Pierre was able to translate a few pieces, and he realized that they had just found the detailed reports of a foreman who worked for Theo Khufu. You can see that these were logbooks kept by a lower-level supervisor named NewLogs, who recounted a part of the Giza Pyramid's construction. This priceless treasure is now protected in the Cairo Museum. Imagine a snack wrap made of swamp grass that went on a diet until it became paper. Before the cloud or iPads, Egyptians just pounded some reeds together and called it a scroll. It's basically the world's first not-so-sticky note, perfect for tax math or curse
I don't think
poetry.
anyone's ever seen papyrus like this before.
This papyrus is an administrative report written by a scribe official called Merer. It's a bit like an Excel sheet that's 45 centuries old. It scrupulously records the movements of a team of workers, what they do every day, and what they receive in exchange.
Everything in black is what the team does for the king. Everything in red is what the government does for the team. Notice in red, you can see the bread deliveries, which keep the workers fed for a month.
But what truly new information, what scoop, have these papyri revealed? In the 1980s, a major new development, Egyptologists Zahi Hawass and Mark Leonard discovered the village and cemetery of the workers who built the pyramid of Khafre, Khufu's son. The lives of the pyramid builders began to emerge from the shadows and contradict the cliches written in the Bible. The pharaoh's workers were not slaves. They were treated and fed well. They were organized into 40-person teams. These men were proud to be buried next to their king. These excavations have continued for 30 years, but the occupation and looting of the site for centuries and centuries after Khufu's death have obscured a great number of clues. No papyrus, no written document dating from his reign have ever been found on the Giza Plateau. The ravages of time have also destroyed all the large-scale statues of him. The only likeness of Khufu that has miraculously survived the ages is a tiny ivory figurine currently housed at the Cairo Museum. Another important clue. While searching underwater and in the port buildings, they found about 100 boat anchors. At that time, anchors were simple limestone blocks with a hole for a rope to pass through. But what were they looking for on the other side of the Red Sea?
It's certain that they were going to the Sinai Peninsula. That was certainly one of the major reasons for building this port, because Sinai had the largest copper deposits that the Egyptians could mine directly.
Several copper mines dating from Khufu's era and even before his reign have been found in Sinai. At that time, there was no iron, so the tools that cut the Great Pyramid's 2.5 million blocks of limestone were made of copper ore. Starting at Wadi El Jarf, donkeys must have transported tons of copper across the desert to the pyramid construction site. Using this desert road, Merer and his team may have made several round trips.
The hydraulic theory of Egyptian pyramid construction has struck the world of Egyptology like a thunderclap, challenging narratives that have stood for generations. As with any radical shift in thought, it has been met with a chorus of skepticism from experts who argue that we must pause before rewriting history. These doubts are essential. They serve as the crucible in which a new theory must either prove its mettle or melt away. The most formidable challenge involves the environment itself. Critics point to the Saqqara Plateau, a bone-dry desert, and ask how the ancient Jisr el-Mudir could ever have captured enough water to repeatedly fill a massive internal shaft. To many, relying on the fickle nature of flash floods for a project of such national importance seems like an impossible gamble. Would a master architect like Imhotep truly bet the pharaoh's eternal resting place on the unpredictability of the weather? Beyond the water supply, there's the question of over-engineering. The blocks used for the step pyramid, while impressive, are smaller than the monoliths at Giza. Traditionalists argue that simple teams of men using ropes, sleds, and earthen ramps could have easily completed the task. They view a complex system of dams, water treatment facilities, and pressurized elevators as an unnecessarily complicated Rube Goldberg machine, a high-tech solution to a problem that may not have existed. Furthermore, the archaeological record lacks a smoking gun. There are no ancient inscriptions describing a hydraulic lift, and no wooden valves or sluice gates have been found preserved within the pyramid's central depths. For many, the theory is a clever way of connecting dots, but it lacks the hard, physical fingerprints of the machine itself. However, the researchers behind this theory are not ignoring these hurdles. They are actively answering them. Regarding the water scarcity, they point to paleoclimatic data suggesting the Old Kingdom was far wetter than today. In this view, the Jisr el-Mudir wasn't waiting for a miracle. It was managing a reliable, seasonal resource. To the charge of over-engineering, they argue the system wasn't just a lift. It was a comprehensive water management plan that provided for thousands of workers, cooled stone cutting tools, and softened the tracks for sleds. The lift was simply a brilliant application of a system already in place. Finally, they argue that the evidence has been staring us in the face for a century. The strangely deep moats, the inexplicable central shafts, and the granite plug chambers that mirror modern drainage systems. The debate is far from over, but this is the nature of science. A bold idea is proposed, attacked, and refined, forcing us to look at these ancient stones with fresh eyes and ask not just what they are, but what they were truly capable of doing.
A port had been constructed next to the construction site, allowing heavy materials to be transported when the Nile was at its highest level during the annual flooding. But that's not all.
It seems that our fragments indicate an area called Orho Khufu, literally Long Live Khufu, which is supposed to be at the foot of the pyramid of Khufu.
Pierre thinks that the pharaoh built his palace in this area to have a clear view of the construction site. After discovering the length of Khufu's reign, this is the second big scoop that Merer's papyri have revealed.
Khufu's palace is probably currently located under the modern city and is undoubtedly waiting to be discovered.
Merer recounts that he stopped in this particular place because the royal archives, containing all the important papyri of Khufu's government, was near the palace. A real gold mine of information that could be buried under the modern city of Cairo. One person in particular is extremely happy about the discovery of Merer's papyri. It is the Egyptologist Mark Lenner, who has been excavating the Giza Plateau for over 30 years.
Ah, Pierre.
Hello, Mark.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to meet you again.
Good to see you.
Pleased to meet you.
Our lab, it looks small, but it's actually much bigger inside. Come inside and have a look.
Here, carefully organized and cataloged, there are millions and millions of objects from the village of the workers who built the Pyramid of Khafre.
Baskets full of them in the granite quarries at Aswan.
They are both excited to discuss their mutual finds and check if their discoveries match.
This one's unfinished. All of this, I think, is like a detective in a crime scene. It's making an inference. When you find texts, then they speak to you directly. And it's like that, opening that window. So, yeah.
We have all the signs that are naming the different files of a gang, the smaller one, the bigger one. You have the crooks for the bigger one, the 4 strokes for the smaller one, and so on. It's almost every time inscribed.
Ooh, that one's broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's perfect. It's
so
nice.
this is what you have?
Yeah, exactly that.
Doubters
That's
and
amazing.
disputations.
We have got,
Naturally,
I think,
this
about
aquatic
50 of
hypothesis
them.
is a
there's
lightning bolt in the
huge
field of
irony
archaeology.
here.
Yeah.
It disrupts legends
you are in
shared
the
for centuries.
Yeah.
And with every
You're out
vast
there
fresh
in an
concept, there are
expeditionary
noisy
force
and weighty
at the
inquiries.
edge of the
Wise thinkers
frontier of
observe
Egypt,
this and say,
and you have
hold
all
on,
these
let us attend the
inscriptions and
naysayers.
texts.
Their
We are at the
misgivings are
center
vital
of the
because they
bureaucracy of the
compel the
Egyptian
premise
state,
to validate
and all our
itself.
material
The
culture,
primary
many of
and
which is
greatest
the same,
inquiry is regarding fluid.
blank, is
Opponents
anonymous.
emphasize that the
it's
Saqqara
strange.
terrain
We
is a
certainly are
wasteland,
keeping our eyes
even with
open.
periodic
Yeah, of
storms.
course.
It'd be
Could
great
the
to find
Gisser
the house
Elmuter
that Merer
truly
stayed
have
in.
caught enough liquid to prime
How
a
we would
gigantic
know, how
conduit
you
again and again for
Might written
decades?
over the door.
They
The name of
contend
the
that
wall.
sudden
Merer lived
torrents are erratic. A poor damp interval could halt the total
But
pyramid
why
scheme
was
for a
Merer's
season.
diary
Depending
found
on
at
such a
Wadi
shaky
el-Jarf
supply,
and
for a
not
venture
on the
of this
Giza Plateau?
magnitude appears
What
like a
was
vast
Merer
gamble.
doing with his
Would a
team of
genius
40
designer
boatmen
like
on the Red
Imhotep
Sea
stake
coast?
everything on the climate? The second chief suspicion is regarding hypercomplexity. The units of the
After
tiered
several years of
monument,
intensive
while
work at
large,
the Wadi
are
el-Jarf
tinier than the
site,
future
Pierre Calais
colossi
and his
at
team
Giza.
are able
Could
to
squads of folk
reconstruct
with
part of the
cords,
story.
skids, and slopes not have done the task? Constructing a massive wall, a filtering plant, and a tangled subterranean liquid hoist appears like an immense quantity of surplus labor. Some pundits ask, is this not fixing a trouble that did not exist? Why create a convoluted device when a basic incline might have functioned? Then there is the issue of tangible proof. Antiquity adores a smoking gun. Critics correctly remark that no age script or carving depicts a fluid jack. No plain drain hatches or timber spigots have been located flawlessly intact in the middle tunnel. The notion links points between present fabrics, but some crave for firmer tokens. They wish to view the undeniable mark of the engine itself. Now the scholars who suggest this notion have answers. They are not dodging these hurdles. They are striving to crack them. First, the liquid matter. Paleoweather studies, including scrutiny of Nile surge logs and local weather markers, suggest the old dynasty era felt various rainfall cycles than now, with data pointing to steadier periodic showers in the Saqqara zone. The storms were more constant. The Gisr el-Muter was not praying for a wonder. It was steering a foreseeable yearly asset. The moisture was present. To the hypercomplexity claim, they present a distinct outlook. This was not merely a hoisting setup. It was a holistic liquid handling map for the whole holy site. The cistern offered fluid for legions of laborers, for mixing cement, for chilling and carving rock. The fluid hoist was one genius usage of a network already crafted for diverse chores. It was productivity, not surplus. And regarding that absent proof, they maintain the signs have been facing at everybody for a century. The mysterious dike, the oddly massive ditch, the profound middle pit, and the stone stopper rooms that resemble flushing networks. No solitary part bellows liquid lift, but united they shape a vision that makes a fresh sort of logic. The setup matches the technical tracks left behind. Often the lack of a thorough guide is what occurs when a craft is so revolutionary it is later erased. The conflict is not finished. But that is how logic operates. A brave thought is offered. It gets probed, slammed, and honed. This premise has ignited a fresh dialogue, urging everyone to view these aged rocks with new eyes, questioning not just what is this, but what did this perform,